In just 43 seconds, one of Hollywood's most respected actors went from sitting down for what seemed like a normal conversation to standing up, furious, and walking off set while millions watched in shock. A fiery explosion of accusations, insults, and raw anger turned Bill Maher's show into absolute chaos last night. And what you're about to hear will leave you stunned. Before we dive into this insane confrontation, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the fights they don't want you to see, and the moments that reveal who these celebrities really are behind the cameras. The tension started building the moment Robert De Niro walked onto the stage. You could see it in his face. He wasn't smiling his usual smile. He looked serious, almost angry before he even sat down. Bill Maher greeted him with his typical smirk, that look he always has when he thinks he's about to make someone uncomfortable. The audience clapped, but it wasn't the warm applause you usually hear. It felt different. Something was already wrong. "Bobby, thanks for coming on," Maher said, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place. "I know you've got a lot to say these days." De Niro nodded slowly. "Yeah, Bill, I do. That's why I'm here." Maher chuckled, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was the kind of laugh that tells you someone thinks they're smarter than you. "Well, let's get into it then. You've been pretty vocal lately about politics, about what's happening in this country. Some people are saying you're going a bit overboard. What do you say to that?" The audience went quiet. You could hear people shifting in their seats. De Niro leaned forward, his eyes locked on Maher. "Going overboard? Bill, people are suffering. Real people. Not people sitting in fancy studios making jokes about it. Real Americans who can't afford their rent, who can't feed their kids. And you think I'm going overboard for giving a damn?" Maher raised his hands like he was trying to calm things down, but his face showed he was enjoying this. Hey, I'm just saying what people are saying. Don't shoot the messenger. I think it's great that you care. I really do. But sometimes it seems like you're taking it personally. Like you're angry at everyone who doesn't see things exactly the way you do." De Niro's jaw tightened. You could see his hands grip the armrest of his chair. "Of course I'm angry, Bill. How can you not be angry? How can you sit there and make jokes when everything is falling apart? Because that's what I do." Maher shot back, his voice getting sharper. "I'm a comedian. I make jokes. That's how I deal with things. And honestly, Bobby, maybe you need to lighten up a little. All this anger, all this intensity, it's not helping anyone." The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. De Niro stared at Maher for what felt like forever. The audience was dead silent. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. "Lighten up?" De Niro finally said, his voice low and dangerous. "You want me to lighten up? Bill, you sit here every week and pretend like you're some kind of truth teller, like you're the guy who's not afraid to say what everyone's thinking. But you know what? You're just another rich guy in a bubble who doesn't actually understand what's happening out there." Maher's smirk disappeared. His face went hard. "Excuse me? I'm in a bubble? Bobby, I've been doing this for decades. I've been speaking truth to power since before you started making your little political speeches. Don't come on my show and tell me I don't understand reality. Your version of reality," De Niro snapped back. "Your comfortable, safe version where everything's a joke and nothing really matters because you've got yours. Well, guess what? Not everyone has theirs, Bill. Not everyone gets to sit back and laugh." The tension in the studio was suffocating. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of this disaster unfolding. Maher leaned forward now too, both men staring each other down across the desk. "You know what your problem is?" Maher said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think being loud makes you right? You think being angry makes you authentic? But all it does is make you look like every other celebrity who thinks their opinion matters more because they've been in a few movies." The audience gasped. A few people even booed. De Niro's face went red. His hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from pure rage. "A few movies?" De Niro repeated slowly, like he couldn't believe what he just heard. "Bill, I've spent 50 years perfecting my craft. I've worked with the greatest directors in history. I've told stories that meant something, that changed people. What have you done? Tell jokes? Make people laugh at things they should be crying about?" Maher stood up suddenly, his chair rolling backward. "Oh, here we go. The great Robert De Niro, the legend, the icon. Nobody can criticize you because you're untouchable, right? Well, I've got news for you, Bobby. You're not a political expert. You're not a philosopher. You're an actor. A damn good one, I'll give you that. But still just an actor. And maybe you should stick to what you're good at, instead of lecturing the rest of us about how to think. De Niro stood up too, both men now on their feet, facing each other like they were about to fight. The audience didn't know what to do. Some people looked scared. Others looked excited, like they couldn't believe this was really happening. Stick to acting? De Niro's voice was shaking with emotion. You mean shut up and entertain you? Is that what you want? You want me to just dance for you, make my movies, and never say anything about what's actually happening in the world? Well, screw that, Bill. Screw that. The curse word echoed through the studio. Maher's producers were probably freaking out in the control room, but nobody stopped the cameras. This was too good, too raw, too real. Maher pointed his finger at De Niro, his own anger now fully unleashed. You don't get to come on my show and tell me what I should care about. You don't get to act like you're better than everyone else because you care more. That's bull, and you know it. I never said I was better than anyone, De Niro shouted back. I said I actually give a damn. There's a difference, Bill. I'm not sitting here trying to be cool and edgy and above it all. I'm telling you that people are hurting, and you're making it into a punchline. Everything's a punchline, Maher yelled. That's comedy. That's what I do. And if you can't handle that, if you can't handle someone not taking everything as seriously as you do, then maybe you're too sensitive for this conversation. De Niro laughed, but it was a bitter, angry laugh. Too sensitive? You think this is about sensitivity? This is about basic human decency, Bill. This is about not being a smug jerk who thinks he's smarter than everyone else. The insult landed like a punch. Maher's face turned red now too. His hands balled into fists at his sides. Get off my show, he said quietly. The audience went completely silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. Someone coughed in the back row. That was it. What did you say? De Niro asked, even though he clearly heard it. I said get off my show, Maher repeated, louder this time. You come here, you insult me, you act like you're the only person in the world who cares about anything. I don't need this. I don't need you. Get off my show. De Niro stared at him for a long moment. Then he smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that says, I knew you were like this all along. You know what, Bill? I was stupid to come here. I actually thought we could have a real conversation. I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd actually listen instead of just waiting for your turn to make another joke. But I was wrong. You're exactly what I thought you were. And what's that? Maher challenged, stepping around the desk now, getting closer to De Niro. A coward, De Niro said simply. A coward who hides behind comedy because you're too afraid to actually take a stand on anything. It's easy to make fun of everything. It's safe. But standing up for what's right, actually fighting for people who need help, that takes guts, Bill. And you don't have them. The words cut deep. You could see it on Maher's face. For just a second, his confident mask slipped, and something real showed through. Hurt, anger, maybe even shame. But then the mask came back. Security, Maher called out, not taking his eyes off De Niro. Get him out of here. The audience erupted. Some people booed, others cheered. Most just sat there in shock, unable to process what they were seeing. This wasn't supposed to happen. Talk shows don't end like this. But this one was. 2 security guards started walking toward the stage, but De Niro held up his hand. Don't bother. I'm leaving. I wouldn't stay on this show another second if you paid me. He turned to walk away, but then he stopped and looked back at Maher one more time. You know what the saddest part is, Bill? You could actually make a difference. You have this platform, all these people watching. You could use it to help people, to shine a light on real problems. But instead, you use it to make yourself feel superior. What a waste. Maher's face was stone. Goodbye, Bobby. Goodbye, Bill, De Niro said. Then he looked at the audience, at the cameras, at everyone watching. And to everyone out there watching this, don't let people like him make you think caring is weakness. Don't let them make you ashamed of being angry about injustice. Your anger is valid. Your passion is valid. Don't ever let anyone tell you to just lighten up when the world is on fire. With that, Robert De Niro walked off the stage. The camera followed him as he moved through the studio, past the shocked crew members, past the producers scrambling to figure out what to do next. He didn't look back. He didn't hesitate. He just kept walking until he reached the exit door, pushed it open, and disappeared into the night. Back on stage, Bill Maher stood alone, the audience still buzzing with confused energy. He tried to smile, tried to make some joke to ease the tension, but nothing came out. For once in his career, Bill Maher had nothing to say. The show cut to commercial, but everyone knew this moment would be replayed a million times. This was the night Robert De Niro walked off Bill Maher's show after a fight that exposed something ugly underneath all the jokes and clever remarks. This was the night two men who should have been able to have a conversation instead revealed how broken our ability to talk to each other really is. But what made this different, what made this matter, was that everyone watching could see who was really in the wrong here. De Niro came to talk about things that mattered. He came with passion and conviction. He came because he actually cared. And Maher, for all his talk about being a truth-teller, for all his claims about speaking freely and honestly, couldn't handle someone challenging him. He couldn't handle someone being more real than him. When De Niro called him a coward, it stung because somewhere deep down, Maher knew it was true. It's easy to mock everything. It's easy to act like nothing really matters, and everything's just material for another bit. But taking a real stand, actually risking something for what you believe in, that's different. That's harder. The confrontation started over politics, over De Niro's outspoken activism, over Maher's dismissive attitude toward anyone who takes things seriously. But it became about something bigger. It became about authenticity versus performance, about caring versus cynicism, about using your voice to help people versus using your voice to make yourself look clever. De Niro's anger wasn't some act for the cameras. It was real. You could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. When he talked about people suffering, about families struggling, you knew he wasn't just saying words. He meant it. Every syllable came from a genuine place of concern and frustration. Maher's anger was different. It was defensive. It was the anger of someone who got called out and didn't like it. When he told De Niro to get off his show, it wasn't because De Niro crossed some line. It was because De Niro told him a truth he didn't want to hear. And instead of dealing with that truth, instead of maybe considering that De Niro had a point, Maher chose to kick him out. That's the coward's way out. When someone makes you uncomfortable, when someone challenges your worldview, you don't engage with them. You silence them. You remove them. You make sure you don't have to face what they're saying. The audience reactions told the story too. When Maher kicked De Niro out, plenty of people booed. They saw through it. They recognized that this wasn't about De Niro being disrespectful or inappropriate. This was about Maher being unable to handle honest confrontation. As De Niro made his way off the stage, some audience members actually stood up and clapped for him. They appreciated his authenticity. They appreciated that he didn't back down, didn't apologize, didn't try to smooth things over. He said what he came to say, and when the host couldn't handle it, he left with his dignity intact. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. De Niro walked out standing tall, his principles uncompromised. Maher stayed behind, looking smaller somehow, his clever quips and sarcastic delivery suddenly seeming hollow. This wasn't just a fight between two celebrities. This was a moment that captured something everyone feels right now. The frustration of trying to talk about serious things and being mocked for caring. The exhaustion of dealing with people who treat everything like a joke. The anger of watching those with platforms waste them on self-serving nonsense instead of using them to make things better. De Niro represented everyone who's tired of being told to calm down when they have every right to be upset. Everyone who's been dismissed for showing emotion about things that matter. Everyone who's been made to feel like caring too much is somehow embarrassing or unsophisticated. Maher represented the obstacle. The person who values being cool over being kind. Who values being clever over being genuine. Who can't admit when they're wrong because their entire identity is built on being right, on being the smartest person in the room. When De Niro called out that dynamic, when he refused to play along with it, the whole fragile structure collapsed, and Maher, unable to defend himself with actual substance, fell back on his authority as the host. This is my show, so I can kick you out. It's the ultimate admission of defeat in an argument. When you can't win with logic or reason, you win with power. The security guards hesitating when Maher called them was telling too. Even they seemed uncertain about what was happening. They could sense that something was off about this situation, but orders are orders. And they started moving toward the stage. That's when De Niro took control one final time by choosing to leave on his own terms. Nobody was going to escort him out like some troublemaker. He was walking out because he wanted to, because staying would compromise who he was. That decision, that choice to maintain his agency even in that moment, was powerful. His final speech to the audience was perfect. Instead of attacking Maher further, instead of making it personal, he used the moment to say something meaningful. He validated everyone watching who feels like De Niro feels. He gave them permission to be angry, to care deeply, to refuse to accept being told their passion is a problem. That's leadership. That's using a platform, even in a moment of conflict, to lift others up. And it stood in stark contrast to how Maher had used his platform throughout the conversation to tear someone down, to mock their convictions, to make them feel stupid for giving a damn. The door closing behind De Niro felt final. Not just the end of this interview, but the end of an era of pretending we can all just laugh our way through serious problems. Some things aren't funny. Some things demand we take them seriously. And people like De Niro aren't going to apologize for recognizing that anymore. Maher's silence after De Niro left spoke volumes. Usually, he'd have some witty comment ready, some way to spin what just happened into a joke that makes him look good. But he had nothing. What could he say? How could he make this look like anything other than what it was, a complete breakdown of his carefully constructed persona? The commercial break was probably a relief for him, a chance to regroup, to figure out how to continue the show after that disaster. But there was no coming back from it. Everyone watching had seen the real Bill Maher, not the clever comedian, not the fearless truth-teller, just a guy who couldn't handle being challenged by someone with actual moral conviction. This confrontation will be dissected for days, maybe weeks. People will take sides. Maher's defenders will say De Niro was too aggressive, too unwilling to have a civil conversation. They'll say he came on the show looking for a fight, but the footage doesn't lie. Anyone watching can see that De Niro came prepared to talk seriously about serious things, and Maher immediately tried to undermine that by suggesting he was overreacting. De Niro's supporters will point to this as proof of what they've been saying all along, that certain media figures hide behind comedy to avoid real accountability. That they dress up their indifference as sophisticated detachment when really it's just privilege. That they punch down at people who care while pretending they're punching up at power. The truth is somewhere, everyone can see. This wasn't a fair fight. De Niro came with substance. Maher came with snark. When snark met substance head-on, substance won. It won so decisively that Maher had to literally remove De Niro from the stage to avoid continuing a conversation he was clearly losing. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will Maher address this? Will he apologize? Will he double down and claim he was right to kick De Niro out? Will De Niro say more about what happened? Will other guests refuse to appear on the show in solidarity? Those questions will be answered in time. But right now, in this moment frozen on camera forever, one thing is crystal clear. Robert De Niro stood up for what he believed in, faced down someone trying to diminish those beliefs, and walked away with his integrity intact. Bill Maher tried to control a conversation he was losing, and ended up looking exactly like what De Niro accused him of being. Sometimes the mask slips. Sometimes the careful image cracks. Sometimes people reveal who they really are when pushed hard enough. Last night, millions of people watched that happen in real time, and they won't forget it. This is the kind of moment that defines careers, that changes how people see public figures, that shifts the conversation about what we expect from those with platforms. Robert De Niro walked off that stage and into the night, but his words hung in the air long after he left. Don't let them make you ashamed of being angry about injustice. That's what people will remember. That's what will echo. Not Maher's jokes or his dismissals or his authority as a host. Just those words. And the man who had the courage to say them before walking away from a fight he'd already won.